you need to be building at least 300,000 new homes per year to hit that target over this.
No, Chair. Sorry if I'm raking over old ground. We've not set an interim annual target of 300,000 homes a year. I don't think this is complex to understand. The 1.5 million new homes target is a whole of Parliament target. We know that because of the dire inheritance that we picked up, the planning applications are down, starts, completions are down. We're in a trough. I'm more than happy to address those particular statistics, all as expected. We've got to turn things around, and our house building requirements to meet that 1.5 over the whole of the parliamentary period do involve a very significant step up. But it's not a 300,000 target a year. If we wanted to set a 300,000 home target a year, we would have done so.
How many do you think that you deliver each year? Just roughly then, because from provisional statistics show around 190 were built between the start of Parliament and 15th of June.
Yep.
That's data.
That is data.
Roughly how many do you think you'll...
I'm not going to give you rough interim annual targets or precise interim annual targets. We're not setting interim annual targets. It's a whole of Parliament standard. I think on the statistics, I think the point that's worth emphasising is the government inherited a housing market downturn, exacerbated by the conscious and deliberate decision of the previous government to make a series of anti-supply changes to national planning policy, including the abolition of mandatory housing targets, in a forlorn attempt to appease their anti-house building backbenchers. Because of the nature of the development cycle, the impacts of that inheritance are still showing up in the statistics. So it's no surprise to us that completions for 24-25 are under 200,000. And given the lag between changes in consent volumes and subsequent changes in completions, we would expect them to remain low for some time. But while I'm not going to, as I say, get into the inadvertently or otherwise giving you interim annual targets.
Prime Minister here not that long ago, and we spoke about the 1.5 million homes target. The question I posed to her, and I'll pose to you, is our job as a select committee is to scrutinise the likelihood of you achieving your ambition of 1.5 million. While I understand you're not going to give us an arbitrary 300,000 year figure, how can we be in a position to scrutinise whether you're going to achieve that target or not? If you're suggesting, which is what you said a few minutes ago, that there's going to be significant ramping up, how do we know you're on course to do that? Because we can't just wait till the end of this Parliament to assess whether you've achieved your goal or not. And our role is very much to be critical friends, and where possible, help you grease the wheels so that you can achieve that ambition. Because no one on this side.
And I absolutely understand it, but I suppose point your attention to other long-term targets that the government has set. Clean power by 2030 is a good example. The Department for Energy and Security and Climate Change are not setting interim annual targets for clean power 2030. They're not saying we're 80% clean power by the fourth year of the Parliament. And similarly, we have a 1.5 million new homes target for the whole of Parliament. In terms of your ability to scrutinise and the confidence you can have, I've just cited the significant increase to net additions that the OBR have forecast off the back of just our changes to the National Planning Policy Framework. We're working closely with them. We would hope in years to come that they similarly score the impact on net additions of the Planning Infrastructure Bill, which contains a series of very significant measures to streamline the delivery of new homes and critical infrastructure. Similarly, the impact of the 39 billion we secured for social and affordable housing at the SR, the National Housing Bank, all the other interventions. I think that can give you some confidence that the changes we're making will feed through. And you will be able to, by the normal way that we release statistics, to be able to track planning applications, starts and completions. And I think it is just worth saying, Chair, that there are some green shoots already visible in terms of the impact of the changes we're making. So planning applications in the first quarter.
Again, quickly, then I'm going to bring Chris and Lee.
There's various media reports suggesting that this government has a reliance on the ABR. How do you feel on that criticism? Because that is one method of scrutinising the work of this government. Do you expect to rely on the ABR for the whole of Parliament, or are you going to change the think tank or scrutineer if they're going to suggest that you're not going to achieve the 1.5 million?
Well, we do use the OBR forecasts. They're the main public estimate of net additions. They inform the department's work. But as I say, you will have qualitative data of what is actually feeding through as we progress through the Parliament in terms of the statistics that are released. As I say, there are some green shoots emerging from that, but I don't know if officials want to add anything on, particularly on statistics or reporting.
But just on that data, Minister, if you're able to share that with us, because the data we have from MHCRG is showing the regional figures from year to March, 31st of March 25, starts decrease from all previous years in all regions except for the South East.
Can I emphasise once again to the committee that because of the nature of the development cycle, what you are seeing in terms of starts is the outcome of planning applications that would have been submitted in the previous Parliament. And I couldn't have been clearer that a series of anti-supply changes were made to national planning policy. They are going to feed through. They're going to show up in the statistics for some time to come. It will take time to turn things around.
It might just be worth adding briefly, I mean, that's also borne out, for example, in the commentary from Savills recently on the most recent completions data, where they reflected that is effectively flowing back from policy positions and changes around 2 years ago. Clearly, the thing that we're looking for first, as the Minister's just said, is the increase in planning applications. That'll be the first kind of core sign in the process as you think through applications to consents to starts to completions. And we're obviously pleased to see that initial uptick in the 6% growth quarter on a year ago in the most recent statistics. Obviously, we now look to see that ramp up further, and that will be the thing to be looking for next.
Thank you.
And if it doesn't?
Well, then if it doesn't, that is obviously a thing that we would look to assess why and how and react, but I think we're confident in the steps we've taken and what the ABR have projected that we're going to see it increase.
Chris.
So it's just so you said 120k because of the changes to the MPPF. When you were sat down with officials and designing the MPPF, did you have in mind those changes would create additional X amount of units? And then subsequently with the National Housing Bank, the Affordable Homes Programme, the Planning and Infrastructure Bill, you just said there in the impact assessment, you haven't scored how many units would be delivered by that. But Minister, you've said that all of these changes will get you to that 1.5 million. So you must, with civil servants, work out what those will all add up to. So why can't you share those aspirations of what each of those changes will deliver in terms of that journey to that 1.5 million?
You want to say anything on that?
So I think it's worth saying that what the ABR would say if they were here, I think, obviously they're a completely independent organisation, is that lots of things affect their projections of housing.
I'm asking about the decision-making process within the ministry of why did you push forward this proposal if you've got no idea how many units it's going to provide?
I think for all our proposals we have a pretty good understanding of whether they're going to be a pro-supply or not pro-supply measure, and we obviously talk to lots of people, but I think the point is there's an enormous range of things that can affect the estimate of how many homes it might deliver, including like the macroeconomic climate, etc. So it's very, very difficult to be certain on the impact. So that's why we always publish an impact assessment alongside these policies, so that it's very clear what assumptions we've made.
You don't put the units in there. That's what William just said. He said on the MP that you didn't score the unit impact.
So it's worth saying, for example,
that's what us as a committee are trying to just get to understand is what all of these great changes that you're proposing. You keep saying in totality they add up to 1.5 million. We'll break it down for us as a committee. That's all we want. So then we can say, yeah, that policy that has exceeded its objectives, that one isn't working quite as well. So, Minister, we suggest you tweak here and put more investment into this one because it's really successful. And I don't know why we keep having this constant battle with the ministry of just trying to get transparent data on what your changes are.
You're essentially asking for, and I'll have officials comment on this, you're essentially asking for the government to make transparent its internal forecasts. Yeah. Which no government has done in the past. And it is
be a better government then. Don't do like the previous governments have done, Matthew.